Biggest needs. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with the Lions. And the rule is we're starting with each division's, of course, worst team. So we're going to give one position or position area that these teams need the most. The options are secondary, offensive line and defensive line, linebackers, quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, running back, special teams. And I just nobody's going to say special teams unless Aaron's going to. Never mind.
I don't have any special teams picks. Trust me.
Right. Let's get to the NFC North, the Lions for today's show. Aaron, what is your biggest need for the Lions?
So, I mean, this was one I kind of went back and forth with a little bit more than some of the others. And, the low-hanging fruit is, you need to, get a better quarterback than Jared Goff. But I don't know. I mean, I think Jared Goff with, some decent tools, DeAndre Swift stays healthy, St. Brown, DJ Chark, TJ Hawkinson. I think there's a foundation there. So I went with offensive line. Yes, they drafted Penei Sewell last year. It ended up working out. He was one of the better offensive linemen, especially rookies in the league. I think you build on that. I think you go get another one in the draft or, when June cuts come around. The other position I kind of struggled with in this one is really that defensive line. I don't think that defensive line is too sexy right now. And, you have the days of, Ziggy Ansah and Ndamukong Suh when the Lions actually had a legitimate pulse in the NFC North. So I was struggled between offensive line and defensive line. Ultimately, I went OL just because we're in an offensive, mindset for this for the NFL currently. So,
I almost said quarterback last night, but then I thought about how this year's quarterback class is not sexy to a lot of people. So maybe the Lions can play a game I like to call Rent-A-Golf, where they're going to use Jared Goff for a plug-in right now because they did last year and they were kind of competitive in some games that they maybe shouldn't have been competitive in. And I also went offensive line. Bulk it up. That way DeAndre Swift has even more reason to stay healthy. And you also have next year's quarterback class. And guess what? You might have an offensive line to build around the guy with DJ Chark, TJ Hawkinson, etc., etc. I think Lions can be sneaky good next year. But for now, we're playing Rent-A-Golf and we're building the offensive line. We might win 3-4 games if we're lucky. But chill out because next year we're going to be better. Same mindset, right?
Fair.
NFC South, the Carolina Crack-A-Lacka Panthers. I'll go first here.
Okay.
Aaron, if Matt Rule wants a job or wants to finish out the season with a job with enough security, he's got to get a quarterback. Christian McCaffrey's health, we get it. We get they don't have a lot to build on, but their secondary is looking better to me. I think defense has been okay for the Panthers, in my opinion.
Yes, a lot of injuries last year.
Matt Rule, he needs to draft a quarterback. You have to. You can't play Rent-A-Darnold or Rent-A-Sam because here's the thing: Sam's Club is about to close.
Sam's Club is about to close. Touche. That was decent. I like that.
They do close at like 8:00 in the evening, anyways. But Panthers need a quarterback. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for me, I tried to not grab onto the low-hanging fruit, but they have a pretty good offensive line, good weapons. Again, even if Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy, the team of Chuba Hubbard, and Deontay Foreman, who we remember from last year in Tennessee, could provide a pretty good punch if, like I said, McCaffrey misses time, which, we're starting to kind of expect that that's the thing. The defense is pretty good, missed a lot of games with injury last year, so I really had to, tight end. You could argue tight end is really a position of need for them after getting rid of Dan Arnold last year. I've never even heard of Tommy Tremble. Exactly. So, but it's quarterback. It's 100% quarterback. If it means you got to go get Jimmy G or you got to draft a quarterback in this draft, I think Carolina Panthers, and like you said, if Matt Rule wants to keep a job, and I was a big Sam Darnold guy, but it ain't Darnold and it ain't Walker.
That's fair enough. And I'm a big PJ guy, too. Shout out Roughnecks. NFC East, the New York Giants now. Year 5 is going to be a shirt sold in the AM Drive store. So you know I'm not going quarterback here. I also know who's their backup. I forgot if they signed a really good backup.
They got Tyrod Taylor.
Right. So the Tyrod Taylor's in the room too. Just hopefully make sure there's no needles around here. Make sure there's no Justin Herbert's around here too. Holy cow. So I gotta go with O-line. I don't think they've hit on a lot of O-line. Like, and we dropped Andrew Thomas as Glenn Kaplan. And
okay. Andrew Thomas has been good, but yes, that's 20%.
Right. They need offensive line. If they want Daniel Jones to prove it like Dave Gettleman, or not Dave Gettleman, owner John Mara wants them to, Brian Dable and his team need to draft I almost said it. Need to draft an offensive lineman. It's in my ear, but it's not going to happen. Offensive line, and then you can fold it. But it's just like the line situation, Aaron. If you draft your offensive line and Daniel Jones does prove it, or even doesn't, next year you're going to go to quarterback.
Potentially, yeah. I went offensive line as well. You could argue probably they need some help on the defensive line too, but I went offensive line because it has just been a point of personal pain for the New York Giants, that offensive line. I mean, they've tried everything. Like you said, Andrew Thomas, shout out to Glenn. Andrew Thomas has been exceptional as an offensive lineman, but that's 20% of your line. You still need to fill the other 80% in. And for me, those are the biggest needs, is protecting Daniel Jones, being able to block for Saquon, and giving time to throw to these three receivers that, I mean, on paper, look like a pretty deadly trio right there.
Yes. And like I said, offensive line, there's some good ones this year, too, in the first, 10, 15 picks.
Right. I mean, we may not have a sexy draft, but people are going to get positions of need filled, on the unsexy offensive and defensive line. And I think the Giants need to spend that draft and maybe even part of the late free agency on keeping Daniel Jones upright for sure.
Last NFC team, we're going to go to the West. It's the Seahawks. And Aaron, I'll say it again. Quarterback. Now, I don't know why Pete Carroll obviously wants a quarterback too. I mean, you think Pete Carroll's going to do his swan song with Drew Lock? I don't think so. You can like Drew Lock all you want to. But I have to go quarterback here. I don't know how they get it. I don't know if it's Jimmy G. I don't know if it's Baker Mayfield. Those two guys are better than Drew Lock right now.
So I decided not to go quarterback on this spot. I am higher on Drew Lock. He actually has the Sam Darnold vibe of last year. I think he needs a change of scenery. I think he's got a cannon for an arm. I'm still not ready to give up on Drew Lock. So I skipped the quarterback in this spot. Not saying that they don't need a quarterback. That's not what I'm saying at all, because I think Drew Lock could definitely stand to use some competition. But I went linebacker. You lost Bobby Wagner.
I'm going to say that too. That was my second one.
Yeah, you lost Bobby Wagner. I think that's a huge loss at this position. I mean, in the secondary, you've got Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, which, I mean, they're a formidable duo. You could argue really any position on the defense there is a position of need. But I went ahead and went linebacker, and trying to replace Bobby Wagner is going to be incredibly difficult, but you got to try.
Bobby Wags. I love that actually, because it was one of the ones that would have been my other option if it was a quarterback-driven league.
Right.
The best quarterback of the defense.
It's also true. He wears the green sticker.
Right. AFC West. Let's go to the AFC part of this now. The Baltimore Ravens now.
I thought you said AFC West.
AFC North. I don't even know why. I was looking at the AFC. This is the AFC, but we're in the North now.
Okay, fair enough.
This is probably the best team on this entire list, and it's not even close. Even if you add Russell Wilson to the Broncos. But for the Ravens, I've got to go another wide receiver. I think that you got Mark Andrews, but I think Lamar Jackson, give him some more help. Give him another piece to just fling around the ball. Like, there's a nice first round of wide receivers, man. I think Lamar Jackson would thrive with one more little play toy. Zoom. Probably a yards after the catch kind of guy.
So I can understand that. I mean, I like Rashad Bateman. I don't think he really got a chance to play with Lamar Jackson, so there's really nothing there. I think there's still a lot of potential with that big guy out of Minnesota. Marquis Brown I think he turned a corner last year. Really,
Oh,
honestly, he
yeah.
turned a corner. And of course, Mark Andrews, arguably best top 3, tight end in the league. J.K. can catch out of the backfield. You got all those running backs back, Justice Hill,
Okay,
Gus
we get it.
Edwards. So I went with the defensive line. If your best defensive lineman is, Derek Wolfe, it's not really a recipe for success here. Now, I know the young rookie, I'm going to butcher his name, Odafe Owe, showed out, but you're going to need another piece or two on that line. And I think going defensive line, maybe even primarily nose tackle here, and beefing up the defensive line is what the Ravens need. I really think the offense just needs their guys back for Baltimore. And that's just like a big free agent pickup right there. Beefing up that defense, which is still probably top 10 in the league, but can get better in a division that now has Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson in it. Anytime you can get better on defense in that division, you're going to need to do it.
And Trubisky, it's a stacked division over there.
Whoa. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Nfc South, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to go O-line. I think you got some pieces. Hold on now. Yeah, because they got Christian Kirk. I kept telling myself they need a wide receiver. I was like, no, they just overpaid for Christian Kirk. So we're going to go O-line here. We're going to go O-line. Keep protecting your franchise. And that's about the Trevor Lawrence.
So, I looked at Jacksonville, and this is the craziest thing. I mean, you're talking about a team that was 3-14 last year, and what they've done so far. Yeah, you could argue O-line, but I mean, they got Cam Robinson. They signed Brandon Scherf, a really good offensive guard. So I considered O-line 100%, absolutely, and it's probably still a position of need, and it wouldn't even be out of context to draft. I looked at their defense. I mean, they've got skill position players on all 3 levels. They signed Darius Williams to be the number 2 cornerback. I think safety. So I'm going to go secondary based on your parameters of the game, but it's specifically safeties. I think they need safeties. They need people, the generals of the field, to be able to scan the field. To me, obviously they're not a great team, but when I look at all the pieces they have, yes, offensive line is absolutely one of them, and they should address it in the draft, but they got nothing at safety right now.
Kyle Hamilton with the number 1 pick?
I think they got the number 2 pick, but yeah, it's absolutely plausible.
They have the number 1 pick.
Do they? I thought they were the number 2. Anyways, not important.
It is important.
1, 2, pick them.
AFC East, the New York Jets. Sorry. So with Zach Wilson, I know what I want. I want a toy. Give me a wide receiver.
The Jets. Yeah. So for the Jets, what? I don't have to agree with you.
I know.
Why would I want to agree with you on everything? That would make for a very boring show.
Yes, it would.
And I think they've got great receivers. I mean, I think they've, like I say, great receivers. They got a stable of receivers with Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore came into his own, and then they brought back Braxton Berrios. Then they got 2 good tight ends. They got Uzama from the Bengals, and they got Conklin from the Vikings. For me, the position of need, position of need for me is secondary. Again, I think Jordan Whitehead coming from the Bucs is a big get for them. But the rest of it, to me, DJ Reed, I know that he showed flashes late in the season, but I think secondary, corners, and strong safety are the biggest positions of need for me for the Jets. Although they could probably use a few other plug and play pieces because they're not a great team.
Give the Mormons some help. The biggest needs, Bronco. With this one, that was my attempt at a Bronco.
This one we might agree upon. So just for your sanity.
I don't think we will.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I went wide receiver again.
What?
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, I don't care. I haven't seen him play enough. So I'm like, give me more. What do you think? O-line here?
No. So they have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler. Like, this is exactly the recipe that Seattle had. Big, tough guy, Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton stretches the field like Tyler Lockett, and KJ Hamler can hit the slot. I think they need to replace the guy they gave up to get Russell Wilson, and that's tight end. They need to get Noah Fant's replacement in there. That's the position I went with was tight end, because I think the defense, again, still incredible. DJ Jones, Gregory, Chubb. As far as the secondary with Justin Simmons, Patrick Surtain, Ronald Darby, they're gonna have a solid defense again this year. I think I went with either tight end or linebackers. Ultimately, I settled on replacing Noah Fant at tight end. Oh, we forgot about Tim Patrick too.
I'll take it back now. I was falling asleep at this point. I'll go linebacker. I'm sorry, that was wrong. I'll do that.
I mean, it is what it is. If you don't believe in these guys, I can completely understand. But I mean, I think Russell Wilson can elevate that receiving core. But the safety, the check down blanket, is really going to be. And no offense to Albert Okwuegbunam, exactly.
We come